A perhaps slightly unexpected dose of new Orc rules coming next weekend. There's new content for Speed War and Blood Axes, and looted vehicles are getting a tune-up for Crusade. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, where today we're talking new Orc rules, where it seems that Games Workshop are releasing a fairly focused supplement for them in one of these new campaign books, Warzone Octarius Critical Mass. We certainly knew that there'd be another Warzone Octarius book coming at some point, and that book would almost certainly feature the Orcs heavily. They are basically one half of the Octarius conflict, and as Rising Tide had focused on the Tyranids, it seemed to stand to reason that the next book would focus on the Orcs. To be honest, I wasn't expecting it to come out for a fair few more weeks now. Games Workshop do tend to stagger their releases quite a bit, but this one's really quite hot on the heels of their last Warzone Octarius book. It's only been a couple of weeks. The news came out in a Warhammer community article. Maybe they'll give us a few previews over the course of the week, but the book's going to be available for pre-order this coming weekend. So these Games Workshop supplements certainly aren't universally loved. A lot of armies don't have their codexes out yet, and the general consensus seems to be that people would prefer to have their codexes out rather than these books. On top of that, they do cost the same amount or more compared with codexes, and usually for any one faction you're going to get far less content in a book like this than you would in the full army book. This one's quite likely to be £30 or $50 based on the previous Warzone Octarius book. Interestingly, a slight decrease on the price from the Warzone Charadon series. I'm kind of suspicious that they might have sold a little bit badly, and Games Workshop has genuinely adjusted their prices down a bit. This one does seem to be quite squarely aimed at Orc players though. Perhaps for some people it might be worth it if you are genuinely going to use the rules out of the different sections of the book. It might be one to wait to hear reviews about in the first place though, and I'll certainly try and review the Orcs rules as soon as possible on this channel. In any case, it sounds like there's three major things for the Orcs coming. First, a Speed Freaks Army of Renown, a Blood Axe mini codex supplement, and rules for playing looted vehicles in Crusade armies. Of course, the Orc Codex hasn't been released all that long, and it does highlight the other major criticism of these books, having content that could have easily been included in the codex itself. First up, that Speed Freaks Army of Renown is likely to look at other choices that aren't Speed Freaks. It'll be interesting if that is literally the only restriction, or if there's anything else, or we can use other things like flyers. Usually they get rewarded by a fun army-wide special rule or two, perhaps a unique relic and warlord trait, and a few helpful stratagems. I was expecting Orcs to get an Army of Renown of some sort, though to be honest I'm not sure the Speed Freaks army is the one that most needed a boost. It seems to be one of the strongest ways that you can play Orcs at the moment. It was only the other week that I was talking about the guy who won a grand tournament in a single turn with the Speed Freaks army, so it does kind of have the potential to be a bit problematic if the army gets even better. I guess we don't know yet for certain that there won't be other armies of renown in here. I must admit it would have been quite nice to see something for either a Dread Mob or Green Tide build. They're the ones that are struggling a bit more at the moment. Next up, there's that Blood Axes supplement. Usually with the Codex supplements there tends to be around about 3 warlord traits, 4 relics, and then a page of stratagems. I find it kind of interesting that they've picked Blood Axes out of all the clans, maybe to go in with them releasing that very nice new Commandos kit perhaps. As clans go, their lore's pretty cool, but I don't think they're quite as widely played as armies like Goths, Evil Sons or Death Skulls for example. Competitively though, Blood Axes have seen a little bit of play recently. Some of the buggy shooting lists have been making use of Blood Axes, as it allows you to fall back and still shoot, and that's pretty nice insurance against getting locked up. I'm not entirely convinced that it's stronger than freebooters for Orky shooting though. The potential for getting +1 to hit on shooting is just ridiculously powerful. I think the stratagem section should be pretty interesting though. The stratagems usually tend to be quite powerful on any army that's got a whole bunch of sneaky tricks. Hopefully it might promote a few different playstyles. Finally, it seems that there's going to be some form of looted vehicle rules, though apparently it's only for Orc Crusade style armies and not for more general match play. Kind of a shame that, as that's certainly been on the wish list for Orc players for a really long time. Orcs used to have datasheets for looted wagons, and they were really quite flexible and customizable, and incentivized you to loot things like Lehman Russ tanks, stick Orky glyphs all over them, and repurpose them to fling them back at the enemy. It'd be really nice for that sort of thing to return to Codex Orcs, but at the same time I feel like it's unlikely to happen under Games Workshop's watch. They really like to go down the route of no official model, no rules, at least when it comes to major battle line units like that. Still though, if you are playing Crusade, it could potentially be good fun. With the way that you do battle admin after fighting Crusade battles, I wonder if you might actually have to kill enemy vehicles before you can access them. That would feel really quite fluffy to me if you kill your opponent's tank and then get to repurpose it for the next game. That's all they've mentioned for the orcs so far, but as normal with these campaign books, there are a few other interesting things. Apparently they're going to be reprinting the Rogue Trader datasheets here. Kind of interesting, as to the best of my knowledge, they're not actually selling the Kill Team Rogue Trader box anymore, the one where you had the Elucidian Starstriders versus the Galapox Infected. I've got no idea if those miniatures are going to be coming back in some form, if they're going to make new rules for them. That's certainly an area of the book that I'll be interested to look into myself. As is normal with these campaign books, there's quite a lot of themed missions to reenact the Octarius sector campaign. And perhaps one of the most interesting things is that they'll have the lore behind the fallout of the conflict. Of course, the Octarius sector being a massive punch-up between orcs and Tyranids, with the Imperium kind of waiting anxiously on the sidelines for who's going to triumph, and which of these enormous threats is going to emerge as the victor. It's certainly a chance to actually progress the story of 40k, though it kind of remains to be seen whether or not they actually take it, or leave it as a bit of a grinding stalemate. So look forward to hearing your initial impressions on the new orc rules. Hopefully we might get a few previews over the course of the week. I'll certainly cover them on the channel if we do. Feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics if you'd like to keep up with any more details of new orky rules. Finally, if you'd like to help support Auspex Tactics and help keep these videos coming, I would just like to mention that I do have a Patreon page down in the video description. It is what allows me to make videos like this quite so regularly. If you are enjoying a lot, any support is enormously appreciated. Channel patrons do get a fair few perks, including seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things come next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with the chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the Patreon link is down in the video description. In any case, an absolutely massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.